Honorable Minister.
Yeah, so we will start with the introduction. Our Chief Guest, Honorable Minister.
Rajesh, Secretary, Department of Biotechnology and Chairman, BIRAC.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Atmanirbhar, formerly Professor of Pediatrics at GEMS and currently President of GEMS. I am Dr. Shiv Sari. I am a pathologist and work as
Welcome you all today. We welcome our Honorable Minister, sir, Professor Vinod Paul, sir, Professor N.K. Arora, and all other esteemed guests, along with our Secretary, Department of Biotechnology. This launch of our formal launch of a GEMCOVAC Omicron-specific mRNA-based booster vaccine, which has been a flagship vaccine and first of its kind vaccine, which can be maintained at 2 to 8 degrees. It has been supported by the initiative of the Department of Biotechnology under Mission Suraksha and has been implemented by BIRAC. As we understand and know that Mission Suraksha has been a very important mission implemented by the Government of India through the Department of Biotechnology and BIRAC, which created the ammunitions to fight the pandemic. The mission generated 5 vaccines, 19 GCP compliant sites, 6 clinical emergency sites, 5 BSL-3 labs, and animal challenge facility, to name a few. The facilities generated will help us to fight future pandemic morbid should not happen. So with this, may I now request our Secretary Sir and Chairman BIRAC, Dr. Rajesh Gokle, to present the bouquet to our Honorable Minister. Advisor, Department of Biotechnology, and former Managing Director BIRAC, to give her welcome at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Mukherjee. On behalf of the Department of Biotechnology and BIRAC, it is my pleasure to welcome respected Dr. Biotechnology, Minister of State Independent, Ministry of Science and Technology, Minister of State PMO, Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions, Department of Atomic Energy, and Department of Space, Government of India. I also welcome Dr. Vinod K. Paul, Member, Health NITI Aayog.
Department of Biotechnology has facilitated establishing GEMCOVAC's mRNA-based next-generation vaccine manufacturing for developing the platform technology from proof of concept till phase 1 clinical trial of the prototype mRNA-based vaccine developed against the Wuhan strain. The project was further supported under the Mission Suraksha. The Indian COVID-19 Vaccine Development Mission by Department of Biotechnology's dedicated Mission Implementation Unit at Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council for further clinical development and scale-up of the prototype vaccine, which received EUA on 29 June 2022. The platform technology developed was used to develop an Omicron-specific booster vaccine for COVID-19. GEMCOVAC OM is an Omicron-specific mRNA-based booster vaccine developed using the indigenous platform technology by Genova in collaboration with Department of Biotechnology. This vaccine has got a nod from the Office of the Drug Control General of India for emergency use authorization. GEMCOVAC is the first booster COVID-19 vaccine developed in India against the highly transmissible Omicron variant. The booster vaccine can be administered to individuals who have received 2 doses of either Covaxin or Covishield. The vaccine has demonstrated 1.2 million doses of GEMCOVAC OM approved and ready to be released by CDA. It would be administered intradermally in a needle-free way through Tropis Pharma Jet technology. DBT BIRAC, creating national and global impact, focusing on testing, treatment and prevention.
Minister Sir, Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji,
dear friend Professor Vinod Paul, Dr. Rajesh Gokle, and distinguished guests. I had the honor to chair the vaccine expert committee and saw the development through last 3.5 years. In fact, I remember right in February, it became very clear that vaccine will be our key tool, and the guidance given by the Honorable Prime Minister of Atmanirbhar Bharat, it was decided that in BIRAC and DBT should invest on vanguard technology where India may not have much experience, but this high-risk investment was considered absolutely strategic and necessary. And the result is that today, as Dr. Sachindu said, we have 6 new vaccine R&D platforms available. In fact, India was a kind of a contract vaccine manufacturer so far, but now probably India is probably only country which has all the 6 platforms to manufacture vaccines in this country, and mRNA is one of these. In fact, all of us know that Pfizer and Moderna were 2 vaccines, mRNA vaccines, which came in 21. There are several other industries and groups which have been trying, but nobody else has succeeded. India is there, that we have our own mRNA vaccine. It was intramuscular vaccine to begin with, and now we have the world's first intradermal mRNA vaccine, which has 2 kind of uniqueness. One is it is self-replicating. No other mRNA vaccine is self-replicating. The second is this vaccine has been manufactured for India and other global south countries. It is stored at 2 to 8 degrees, and that is the other highlight. That right, I remember in April 2020, or it was May 2020, when the proposal was given to us, the first question was that the vaccine should be for our countries, not like Moderna and Pfizer, which requires ultra cold chain requirements. The other important point is that we have seen the evolution of COVID pandemic in our country, and Omicron particularly assured. In fact, I am associated with INSACOG Genomic Surveillance Network also. During last 15 months, over 350 subvariants of Omicrons have come up, and today XBB variant is the dominant variant. It means we have to be ready that in case a naughty virus comes, we should be able to handle that. And Genova has come up with that they have come up with GEMCOVAC OM, which is Omicron vaccine. Again, I would say it is far-sightedness on the part of the company that they have developed a monovalent Omicron vaccine. The vaccine was, I think, ready by March or April, but only on 17th May, the WHO has come up with a statement that today the most appropriate vaccine for COVID is a monovalent Omicron-based vaccine, and this is the vaccine. So we have state-of-art vaccine available for Indians, and which provides not only protection for the older viruses, but a wide range of Omicron subvariants. So it's a matter of great honor that this country has, and we don't stop here. This mRNA platform is for several new next frontiers, be it dengue vaccine, be it HPV vaccine, RSV, so I have been associated with HPV vaccine also, and now we have another platform available, and we can really scale new heights and be at the forefront and not wait for decades for any new vaccine to come into this country and forever. My congratulations to Genova, and my deep appreciation to DBT and BIRAC for this strategic investment. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
In the vaccine expert committee, which was regularly monitoring every month on the progress of the vaccine development.
Genova took up the challenge of vaccine democratization and embarked to develop a thermostable mRNA vaccine for COVID-19, which could be deployed at 2 to 8 degrees centigrade.
We decided to choose self-amplifying mRNA vaccine, which was already in itself a big challenge because self-amplifying mRNA is a longer sequence, a quite a large sequence compared to mRNAs, making that assembling it with the nanoparticles itself is a big challenge, was a big challenge for us.
Using this self-amplifying, the biggest advantage we get is the dose sparing effect, so that we can see in our case also, GEMCOVAC mRNA is given at a dose of 10 microgram, and same time Moderna is given at 100 microgram dose, which is a non-amplifying mRNA acid.
And to add to this, we were also thinking that the penetrability in India, let's say a remote village in India where you can transport things very routinely, transporting a vaccine at -80°C and setting up a storage place in that village at -80°C is almost impossible in our country. So that is when we realized that the greatest challenge was not to make the mRNA, not to assemble the mRNA, but to develop a vaccine which is stable at 2 to 8°C or for that matter at 100 temperatures.
In GEMCOVAC's mRNA vaccine, GEMCOVAC 19, the mRNA is adsorbed on the surface of the nanolipid emulsion, thereby easing manufacturability and minimizing losses. This makes the process scalable and amenable for the equitable distribution of the vaccine globally.
The challenge was twofold. We had to develop a process in very stricter timelines, and also we had to scale this process so as to supply the market, commercial supplies of the product.
It was almost 30 times scale up at the commercial plant, which was a difficult task to start with. Then the big challenge was just to lyophilize the vaccine at such a large scale. It was almost 50,000 vials per batch.
To cater to the global production requirement, supplies of critical materials were low on availability, leading to high cost and long lead times. Backward integration would reduce the cost of manufacturing and mitigate the risk of supply chain disruptions. The mRNA vaccine candidate required new analytical methods to be developed for quality control.
The most difficult aspect of this journey is like to set up in very short span the qualified and manufacturing facility of a large scale. Say for example of 50,000 vials per batch, something like that, or 10 million doses.
The biggest challenge was setting up the assays or the technical aspect of the mRNA vaccine, which was new, and there was no precedent to see what are the quality checks that apply to mRNA vaccine.
Scientists at Genova worked in tandem with regulators to develop the vaccine and establish the first indigenous mRNA platform technology.
It was a new field and new subject even for the country. And I would say, the regulators, they did a great job in developing the guidelines in order to help all around the development throughout India, like how we can accelerate the vaccine development project. And despite that, yes, as I told you that it was an uncharted territory, it was a lot of back and forth discussions, a lot of intensive engagements that we had. Our perseverance to hold the line during a tough time was our key to success.
As a predominant strain, posing a grave threat to global health.
Genova utilized the state-of-the-art mRNA-based vaccine platform to quickly update its
It was quite new for us and the learning curve was quite steep. Still, we got a vaccine approved. We not only lyophilized it, but for the booster, we changed the mechanism or the route of delivery. We use this system called Tropis by a company called PharmaJet. It is a needle-free system, so it doesn't have a needle, so it's good for people with needle phobia. It's better for sharps disposal, etc. WHO has used this product in the field, and they've got a lot of positive reviews from not only the caregivers but also the people who have received the vaccine, and we're quite excited for our product to roll out in the market. I think the reviews that we get from the people who have taken our vaccine are going to be the fruits of all our hard work that we've put in.
For any vaccine in a lyophilized condition, 2 to 8 stable with a good penetrability in countries like India.
Have given a huge boost to our own confidence. Yes, we succeeded as the third company in the world and first outside US which has delivered this vaccine.
And presenting the development of GEMCOVAC, what is the significance and what is the need for it?
what are the clinical outcomes, and what is the future of mRNA-based vaccinology. This is most important part. So, if you, I don't have to explain to you, there was generation 1 vaccine, and it is 100-year-old, Professor Jenner's lab at Oxford. So a lot of vaccines has come, and India also, that Covaxin and mRNA technology from Pfizer and Moderna. And then we came, and now the only boosters which are available, they are based on mRNA, and we have also come with today, with your hands, we are going to see the vaccine rolling out. This is one very important slide I would like to ask you to focus, that we can have these enzymes and these raw material national stockpile or regional stockpile. So we are talking to WHO and other organizations, can we have this regional stockpile? Only you have to mix it, you have to put the new plasmid, a new sequence, and vaccine is made. The turnaround time for this was, Professor Paul here is sitting when they had a meeting at Prime Minister's office, and he called from the car, how much Sanjay time will take this vaccine? I said, sir, 60 days, and we made in 60 days. But we have to look into it, that how regulatory system support it, because there is some problem that with high innovation need that similar kind of support system. So what is the significance of this? The significance is that we are at watch for COVID, because we cannot lose our sight from this. We have lost a lot, the world has lost. But you will see this is a total unique kind of thing. This takes over the whole, within 4 to 5 months it goes over. So many ways are possible. China has faced a couple of weeks back of huge 65 million cases, and it is still not gone. We have to keep a serious watch, because virus is continuing mutating. And here, what because Professor Arora is a part of the SAGE, and I have worked for the SAGE before, becoming the entrepreneur. So we keep watch on this. There is a high priority group, which are older adults, pregnant and adolescents, frontline workers, and also people who have comorbidities like heart condition, lung condition, this. And it is a problem, they need to have this booster, and WHO has recommended they must take the booster as it goes. I think their time is around 6 months. So this is required, and so very proud to say that US has approved, in Europe it has been approved, in India we have approved last week. So this is the clinical outcomes. I would love to present to you. This is the dose, 10 micrograms, single dose intradermal. We have made a multi-dose vial, and lyophilized and stable at 2 to 8 degrees centigrade. So you are one of the closest who work with the Prime Minister, and if Prime Minister wants something and you have committed something, how he treats you, you know better than me. So sir, you can see middle of the night, you can get a call from Dr. Swaroop that sir is asking how is the progress, how is the progress. And I appreciate this is, I'm one of the players into it. This team has put unprecedented effort, and we feel very proud of this, what they have done. Then we have moved on one more innovation, because intradermal delivery is very important, because all the defense system is below the skin, sir. All the defense system is below the skin. So because technology was not available, I worked with WHO when I was in my NI days, and there we set with the program that intradermal is better for endemic countries, because it comes very fast immune response, and it also giving cellular response. So at present mRNA vaccine give the humoral response, but cellular response is not there in runaway. So we feel that giving this technology is going to give some cellular response. Something we are publishing, but some things that we are keeping secretly, because we want to keep it secret. Only the vaccine effort should make a difference. So we have gone this, and this is the advantage. The biggest advantage for this is that being a doctor, if you happen primarily because of that. Intradermal, there is no chance of rain. And so now somehow the medical practice has gone in India, nobody aspirate back. They just put and give it. Nobody aspirate back to check it, that whether it has gone into the vein or not. So this is no problem. So this is, we have made the collaboration with PharmaJet, and we are also going to produce backward here, so we have the control of the whole technology. We have done it. So it is.
You could also put the preferred sites for intradermal. Preferred sites for intradermal.
In the body.
Yeah.
So that has been done.
So that a young resident, a new resident does not by mistake, hit upon
yes.
A vein and rupture it.
Yes.
So you could also
So
give
sir,
guidelines for that.
sir, it is needle free, so it is just a jet system would just put, so
Yeah,
there are
that
3-4
is
sites, so
exactly
we are training it, we are training all the sites at present, sir. So these are the trials we conducted, these are the sites all over the country, and here I will say that again, DBT was not a only funder, it has come from different ways, there were many sites were available, all our challenge studies have been done in the sciences, approved by the Office of DCGI. I don't want to go into detail, only I want to say that we have developed it, not only one vaccine, this is the second came from the mRNA platform, and it is moving forward. So this is the booster, and having Omicron booster is very, very important because we have to say that whatsoever new challenge we are going to come, we will solve it. Now what I said to you, the group that review system is very important because it is not that you just give a money and forget about it. Review must be there and review must be very, very vigorous because this improves you, it takes to the next level. The second comes the ecosystem, whether we have the ecosystem or not. Somehow, sir, I come from the DBT because we have been funded DBT very nicely. So first BIRAC funding was given to Genova, which was returnable 10 crores. So today we save 200 to 300 lives every day because there's a new biomanufacturing technology was developed and where we make the stroke medicine. Someday I will come and tell you how difficult it is to do innovation in the country because people who makes non-innovative things, they affect you, and then the multinational also have their own interest into it. So this is how we paved the battle, and where DBT and my Apex committee was sitting and helping into it. So sir, funding was given. I think this is one of the biggest generous funding has been received by any company. So 25 crore was given by DBT to Indo-City Mission, and they said that you come with the POC, proof of concept. So when we went with the proof of concept, then the next 100 crore was given, and where this has come up. I'm very thankful to DBT because my kind of company, which has the turnover of close to 500 crores, cannot take a project of 500 crores. But I was knowing that DBT is sitting next to us, and it has gone. Another part I want to say with my whole heart that as a booster, because we were a little bit late and something has not happened with the original vaccine, everybody in the management said that, no, don't go for the booster. But my chairman alone said, Sanjay, I'm with you. So today this vaccine is because of himself. I would like to mention. Now coming to the next part, sir. This is the most important part. This is what is the future of mRNA-based vaccinology, in which some experts have said how we look into it. So on one side, this team is doing research and also in collaboration that we are perfecting mRNA platform where we are looking into disease biology, where optimal antigen targets, B cell biology, T cell biology, correlates of protection, and doing backward integration. So at present, when we started, we were having 110% export oriented. We have to bring from import and then we can do anything. Today we can say more than 90% we are self-reliant on this. All the enzymes we have produced in-house, all the chemicals we are doing, and hopefully coming forward within the 12 to 18 months, we will have all the things made it here, and we have also little bit started exporting outside those reagents and everything. Coming on the right side, which is most important, the first generation we made, the second generation we made, and the third generation, this is another we are working, and this is highly confidential, my secretary knows, because looks like the US government feels that COVID is a problem, and they have put a program for $5 billion funding for next generation vaccine. And in next generation vaccine, we and Harvard are collaborating. Let's see how it goes forward. Second thing is coming that we want to improve the existing vaccine. There is single vaccine, so if you take it 3 days, you have to walk like this. So it is so difficult, so painful. So we are working on that. Dengue we have taken as a challenge, and we have brought one of the most expert person, Dr. Naveen Khanna Saab, in our team, and hopefully he will be giving us guidance to go into it. Malaria is my own passion, very weak vaccine at present, we can do it. And then we are also looking at HPV, can we go for a single dose HPV vaccine, because this is very, very important. I want to be part of the dream of my Prime Minister that no girl left behind having a vaccine of HPV. Then next one is tough task, which is the tuberculosis. We have thought about we can eradicate. And now if the Prime Minister goes and says in public, we have to work hard, we have to do CSAS, and let's see where we go into it. And respiratory and chikungunya kind of thing. But sir, I want to present to my minister, we have different plans. They just it made us happen, so I would like to take this opportunity to thank him for giving such a difficult challenge. Here is this, what I say that in the backward integration, we have developed all in-house capabilities to make a plasmid separate, we have made mRNA separate, we can make nanolipid separate, and we can ship these things at different places where they can lyophilize and do it, because if future pandemic comes, it becomes very difficult because you have to have different plants at different level of expertise which can finally end up the product. Very proud to say that last month Nature featured us that Genova is one of the leading technology in mRNA in the world. So this is another kind of testimony. And to conclude myself, very feel national pride. We have made the first mRNA 2 to 8 degrees stable. This is updated vaccine we have demonstrated. We can make it as quickly as possible. And the third is the disease agnostic platform. So this is the walk I wanted to go in front of you. And now I'd like to say, I love Kavita, and this is one which has been written by my Prime Minister. I think 2 days back, he said, I would like to use one stanza for it. What is mRNA future? So, आसमान में सिर उठाकर, आसमान में सिर उठाकर, घोर बादलों को चीर कर. It was very difficult walk, sir. Very, very difficult walk for 3 years. रोशनी का संकल्प लें, सूरज तो अभी उगा है. I want to close my talk with this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sanjay, and for a wonderful way you concluded with the couplets which our Honorable Prime Minister said, I think, yesterday. I was listening to it. Thank you, and once again it was not only your journey, it was at DBT BIRAC, our journey as well. As you know, every month the WEC was reviewing it very critically, and I think we thank the WEC leadership at DBT and BIRAC for taking it forward. With this, I have the pleasure in requesting our Secretary, Dr. Rajesh Gokhale, Secretary DBT and Chairman BIRAC, to give his address. So, over to you.
Minister for Science and Technology, Dr. Jitendra Singh ji, Dr. Vinod Paul, Member Niti Aayog, Health, Dr. N.K. Arora, Dr. Sanjay Singh, Shri Mehta ji, Chairman Genova, all the other esteemed colleagues here, Dr. Sarin, and various other friends and colleagues of mine actually who are there actually as well, friends of people from Genova, folks from DBT BIRAC and press media. Thank you very much for coming here today. I think it's indeed a great pleasure to really congratulate Genova as part of the core success story that government has so proud of actually of this company's success actually. So maybe we should of course give a very big we must acknowledge the great role played by our Honorable Minister actually, who's been constant guidance and freedom to do activities and carry out work, and I think we should also really thank him for his all. I think what I will do today is just to give you a perspective of how government in fact is a partner in innovation actually. While the funding is a very simple task, it's the other successes that are very critical to build around that creates these technologies and accepts various aspects, and therefore I put together a title like India's Unstoppable Vaccine Successes actually. And I think the whole idea really is that we've now become a country where innovation is probably likely to be the key blockbuster for the future generation to come by. And I think that's where we can like vaccine development actually. And that's one of the biggest that we all need to think about and contribute, that the vaccine is given to a good, healthy person, so therefore the safety is of paramount importance actually. And then the second aspect is cost effectiveness, because if you want to bring it in the country, it has to be available for all, and it has to be utilized for all. So as you see, several countries, in fact LMICs, are still struggling to have various vaccination programs going around because the technologies are of tremendous not really same value that we come from. So I think this is where I think India is doing fantastically well, and it supports industries, and a public-private partnership has truly become a model of future success. But we are also proud of first DNA vaccine that has come out of India actually from part of this program. and also nasal vaccine, which is also of unique of its kind actually. So therefore, this is a very, very important occasion to celebrate for India's success that our Honorable Prime Minister and Honorable Minister in fact dreams about actually. What is DBT doing actually as a team together to make this happen? And I think this technology cycle, from innovation to technology cycle, is not just a single player actually. It's a teamwork that involves variety of activities. So what we do is we strengthen and align science and technology innovations ecosystem. We provide compelling incentives for frontier technologies, workforce transitions and capacity building, synchronizing instruments and institutions, and that the regulatory reforms work. And then even for the societal protection that government looks into is to make sure that the vaccine is accepted in the society after it is made, to promote inclusive debate and early on impact of its activity. So together, this is government's entire mandate of activity that requires to be done. And I think that is where DBT BIRAC together as a team has played tremendous amount of role, along with other ministries of government of India, as a whole government approach, which is what is critical for success of any story in any aspect of the world. I think over the years, DBT BIRAC has in fact nurtured this activity. So this is not the mission COVID Suraksha was not the first one that we started with, and that is not the catalytic reason why we were able to do it. It was a National Biopharma Mission, Grand Challenges Program, and INSEPI. All of this, which actually created base and created repositories and various clinical trial sites that permitted you to actually carry out mission COVID Suraksha in 1 year time. Otherwise we could have never ever proceeded in doing it. And I think all these we should really, successful stories, we should always remember how many of these contributed to the ongoing activities actually. So for example, discovery and early development, preclinical development, process development and manufacturing, phase 1 trials, and all these activities in fact are critical to the activities of doing things. So just to give you a perspective how this whole journey started actually, and again this is a little bit of overheard from my colleagues because I was not there at the government at that time. It came in the middle of the COVID pandemic when vaccines were halfway through the development process. And so as part of the Government of India's response to COVID-19 pandemic, the Department of Biotechnology and Ministry of launched Mission COVID Suraksha, and we were asked to lead this program as a government entity. The government proactively identified potential manufacturers from vaccine development, and that's a very critical part that, the government reached out to various manufacturers actually so as to be able to say that we have a capacity in the country, can we develop our own systems? Parallelly strengthen good clinical practices, compliant trial sites, and provided access to vaccine developers. Under the mission, provided risk mitigation funding for regulatory toxicology studies, manufacturing clinical trials, materials and clinical development of licensure and COVID-19 protocols. Strengthen existing immunoassays laboratories, central labs for animal studies and production facilities to support vaccine. And then supported capabilities of process development of cell lines and all these activities that requires to co-develop along with this. And it's great to see that Genova has now end-to-end platforms actually to be able to carry out all these stuffs as we look into the future. I think these are the 5 vaccines that have come out from this program. Actually, ZyCoV-D, DNA vaccine, Corbevax, which is a protein subunit vaccine, BBV-154, which is an intranasal vaccine, and GEMCOVAC 19 and Omicron GEMCOVAC, which are all of these which empowers our country as a major platform technologies of vaccine in future to provide. Mission COVID Suraksha impact I've just talked about, and I will, I think several different players, people played this, as a team together, and I think various committees and expert members and also implementation people actually on the ground have done fantastic stuff over difficult conditions to come out of these activities. So I just leave you with, biotechnology is likely to be the next technology revolution for sustainable growth of the country actually. Let's just put together how technological evolution has shaped the society for a better world. And you can see in every century, there has been a technology trigger that has provided an incentive and a growth, both in terms of economy and a quality of life, which is critical to the world actually. It started with Industrial Revolution, and in the past few years, we've seen ICT, in fact, entering into your own houses and homes like never before actually. I mean, we always wondered whether Indian population would be able to utilize the mobile phones now that they do UPI transfers in India is a 1/3 of the digital transactions happen in our country actually. So that's how our country has grown. And we believe that AI and biomanufacturing is likely to be the future of how the country's progress will be determined by in a sustainable growth model. And just to end, we've initiated a program towards this area of work, actually called Fostering High Performance Biomanufacturing. This is for green, clean and prosperous India. And we've identified various sectors where biomanufacturing can in fact play a tremendous amount of role actually. Obviously the first and the biggest important one is going to be the chemical industry, because about 70,000 molecules get produced actually. And the materials, for example, cloth or any of these aspects, we don't have any end of life cycle assessment analysis of it actually. And I think that's where the biomanufacturing processes will take up priorities, and many of these technologies will produce in this method. Functional food and smart proteins, another area that will become very revolutionarily. As agriculture will become, the land will become more and more expensive, the agricultural land will continue to diminish, and this will continue to change the dimensions of how non-agriculture based crops will be grown actually, and therefore they will start growing to, you must have seen today only actually there's an article in Times of India cover saying saffron grown in the labs in Bangalore and in Mumbai actually. So these will come out of the agriculture land and come into the labs, and that's where one has to look at it. We will have to capture the carbon dioxide and convert into utility molecules, because we have otherwise no option of decreasing the temperature and carrying out this. And the futuristic marine and space research, as you all think of, is the real frontier that everybody is thinking of what the future generations will be. And what we again plan to do is the public-private partnership and international partnerships as our major mandate. And it's heartening to see that yesterday's White House announcement, joint statement, in fact talks about the extent partnership to advance biotechnology and biomanufacturing and enhance biosafety as one of the major important activities for us. I thank you for all. I think let's innovate in India. That's what department wants you to do, and I think we'll be as usual play an important support on the side. Thank you.
Entire journey from the funding aspect as well as the strategic aspect, which DBT, BIRAC, and how it will be managed mission COVID Suraksha. With this, I have a pleasure to request respected Dr. Vinod Paul sir, Member Health Committee, to give his address. Sir, over to you, sir.
Dr. Biotechnology, distinguished Secretary, Dr. Rajesh Khokre sir, Dr. Sanjay Singh and team Genova, the day of celebration for you, Dr. N.K. Rola, Dr. Sareen, scientists, colleagues, members of the media. It's truly a day of rejoicing, celebration, and being proud of the work that has been done by Genova in producing a great vaccine, most advanced vaccine with even more advanced, unique features, world-class, world record-holding features, shall we say. Sir, it's not easy to imagine an mRNA vaccine which is stable in the everything, which can be given intradermal route. And I think the big vehicle in this, and truly commend the DBT, sir, your leadership. If we did not have COVID Suraksha, we didn't really have a mechanism to make a difference through a collaborative effort. So thank you very much, sir, for blessing COVID Suraksha mission. People talk about Operation Warp Speed. They talk about $10 billion. Why did India not give? So you put on the table 900 crore, of which 700 plus crore have been spent. And you've seen family of 4 vaccines that have been produced as a result of this very efficient use of people's money, sir, public money. So it's thank you for conceptualizing and leading. That became the vehicle, sir. Otherwise, how do we support the industry? It's for India and for the world. And truly, it's an amazing journey, sir. Truly amazing leadership and a great model of working together. All the labs, all the government systems, the regulator, and of course the entire team from the industry. So very, very proud, sir. It's truly a proud moment. Sir, we are proud that India has ultimately got 8 vaccines. So our bouquet is as big as the bouquet that we received, so with different color. And of course, mRNA stands out a very unique vaccine because it uses a technology which was unheard of about 2-3 years ago. And we actually improved on the technology that the world has, having heard those characteristics. So we have used 5 vaccines. We've used inactivated, adenoviral, DNA, RNA, nanoparticle, protein supplement, and the intranasal by itself. No other country, sir, has mastered all the platforms to the extent of having those vaccines on the table. You know, they have been approved for use, so it's an amazing journey, sir. And India delivered the vaccine through Indian vaccines, Indian needles, syringes, by Indian vaccinators. So it's a absolutely fabulous journey, sir, that we all are proud of achieving. So I want to make 2 or 3 points in this regard. If we had not made our own vaccines, 2.2 billion doses, there were no vaccines to be made available. Pfizer had done about 3 billion doses till 2021, and Moderna had done just under 1 billion. There were no vaccines for India. And then these vaccines come typically at a cost of $20 or more. So $40 per individual. Where is this money? This would have meant 1% of GDP, even if the vaccines were available, 3 lakh crore or more would have been. We could have, if you make a net projection, taking away the cost, then it is 15.4 billion US dollars, and that's 1 lakh crore rupees. And India's health budget, ministry budgeting it, and that tells how it has been such a remarkable development for our nation. Sir, the importance of this vaccine is also, the last point, sir, is truly for future. Because this is a platform which can respond at a very fast pace for new immunogens and new viruses and so on. And therefore, this is a very, very special capability that we have demonstrated. Going forward, there will be unforeseen challenges, unexpected challenges, and in that platform that Sanjay has now mastered and curated would be extremely useful, sir. The benchmark for new vaccines, for new pandemic, new outbreak is 100 days, and mRNA can respond in that short period of time. So going forward, sir, we are not only looking at vaccine development, in a routine way, but should such challenges happen, we have a very rapid response. Of course, we have heard about the possibility of cancer vaccine, dengue vaccine, vaccines against antimicrobial resistant organisms. So it's opened a new world of science at the cutting edge for India. So the last point, I also want to make one more point. Second last. Firstly, the speed and the ingenuity of the Indian public health system. So 98% of the vaccines were delivered free, sir, through the government public health system. Only 2.3% yesterday were delivered from the private sector on payment. It's a remarkable journey. And sir, the vaccines moved by plane, by automobile, by boat, by drone, on shoulder, on cycle, and camels. It's just again a great journey as to how it was implemented. So how vaccines became vaccination is by itself is a proud story which must be stated, sir, over and over again, sir. So the last point I wish to submit, sir, is preparedness for the future, sir. So the world is trying to put together, or the different countries are trying to put together, I should say, sir. The world may or may not do it as a whole, but we have to do so. That if unforeseen health emergencies come up on the scene, particularly from the One Health paradigm, particularly the kind of outbreak that we have seen here, then, sir, we should be ready, having learned these lessons and got the capabilities like this, to be able to respond very quickly to use countermeasures. The 3 countermeasures being the vaccine, the treatments, and the diagnostics. So we need to create a stable ecosystem which is lying in readiness for us to start running, because other countries now will also run faster than what they have done, and we are competing with them, and they have no time or resources to be offered to us. We have to do it on our own. So, sir, I plead that we need to work together, sir, to create a system which is ready for future, which means that we have vaccine libraries, sir, we have immunogen libraries, we have products that are ready in the stage of phase 2A, And so that when the need arises, that initial phase in COVID-19, where there were no diagnostics, treatments were not there, the vaccines were not there, could be shortened in the next eventuality, sir. There is a team, we're working on this idea, and we look forward to serving it to your attention and for your consideration, sir, how together as a whole of government, we will create a system, an ecosystem for future readiness, sir, and we will seek your guidance. But we like you to, sir, keep in mind that that is one of the imperatives of the day for India. I'm very, very honored to be here. Thank you for the kind invite. Thank you very much, Jay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking us along again in that journey which the Indian vaccine.
ज़्यादा टाइम पीछे थोड़ा सा
Obviously, video can be switched on. So where sir is releasing it. Can be video be switched on?
The remote.
Yes.
You can sit and watch it.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Medical fraternity, Dr. Vinod Paul, you were listening just now. Dr. Rajesh Gokhale, who happens to be Secretary DBT right now, but otherwise in his own right is one of the leading biotechnologists in the country today. We have Dr. Arora, Salim, Krishna, all of them well-known names in the medical circles. Of course, veteran Mr. Mehta, Dr. Sanjay Singh, whose presentation you were watching just now. Our colleagues in the Department of Biotechnology, Dr. Alka Sharma, Dr. Mukherjee, and the entire Genova team. At the outset, it gives me a personal delight to be meeting many of the old friends. I think I visited your premises over 20 years back, and there was a block coming up at that time. So some kind of construction going on, and I was told that I must come back here to see when it is complete. But I didn't go back. I now would look forward to that. So I'm glad that we have always shared some kind of equation, and now that makes the task easier for us to collaborate. So at the outset, I have to compliment the Department of Biotechnology, Genova, Niti Aayog for having contributed to making this happen. And this celebration this afternoon is also a joint celebration. So sometimes we collaborate together, but we don't celebrate together. So it took us some time to learn not to work in silos. Because earlier on we were working also silos. When we came out of silos and started working together, realizing that silos could not move us beyond certain points, then we did work, but after having completed, we didn't celebrate. And the grudge was that he's taken the ownership, he's taken, I'm glad that all of us now today jointly celebrate. And each one of us has recognized each other's role in making this happen. Biotechnology having conducted the trials, and also having contributed to BIRAC, and of course, having played a very sterling role, and Niti Aayog being our knowledge partner. So each one's role is being acknowledged. And I think my first thought was that this also ushers India into a new era, and that is of preventive health care. And I think the entire credit goes to Prime Minister Modi. Also because we were inherently not made like that. We never had a temperament or a psyche or a mindset which would be amenable to preventive health care. Because we, Indian society as a whole, did not even an average Indian would not go in even for a treatment if he was afflicted by a disease. They would wait for a few days, and then if something goes the other way, then they would take it as God's decree. So I think that's also partly because our socio-economic background was like that, so we could not actually enjoy the luxury of catering to preventive aspects. But Prime Minister Modi has awakened the nation. And I was telling that the other day, some of the colleagues from abroad, I said, have you ever imagined that a country which had no aptitude for preventive healthcare is now taken up a leading role in preventive healthcare across the world? So, this filter vaccine, actually the first of its kind, is again an evidence of that, because all of us as part of the scientific fraternity have learned not to speak without evidence. So I think this is one glaring instance of that India has taken up a leading. So it's a huge turnaround that has happened in the last few years, and I think COVID was a great learning experience. The post-COVID India has emerged stronger in more ways than one, and it's also acquainted us to a number of inherent features which we were not aware of. It helped us rediscover many of our own characteristics. For example, I was talking that the other day at the AIMS during COVID. I said, sometimes I feel guilty having been a teacher of medicine for almost more than a quarter of a century. In the last decade or so, we hardly gave any importance to the communicable diseases. We were talking more of the diseases which belong to Dr. Sareem's domain, of my own area of endocrinology, diabetes, because we thought we were now into those kind of metabolic disorders, and we have got over those times, the early decades when Dr. Paul would recall, where tuberculosis and cholera were the main mortality factors in India. So we didn't actually train our residents to an extent that we were training them up in the 50s or 60s. But then the best part is that overnight they got geared up. COVID struck, and we could see our young residents. I think the maximum contribution in the control of COVID has been done by these youngsters. They were just out of their junior residency, senior residency, never actually also like earlier times, because when I was an intern, we used to have a posting in the sanatorium. The whole time, I mean, if I tell now, it will be laughable. I was sent to Tamram Sanatorium, one of the world's biggest sanatorium, close to the Chennai airport. Yeah. Because those days the emphasis was like that. So now so what I'm trying to say, coming back to what I was saying, is it made us realize the inherent resilience that our health system has. We have in our DNA the traits which were not discovered. So COVID helped us discover, and Prime Minister Modi helped us turn an adversity into virtue. The manner in which the entire program was carried forward as was being very nicely put across by Dr. Vinod Paul. And I think the best evidence of that, as Dr. Rajesh was telling, is what has happened in the last 2 days. Today we are operating from an equal platform with USA. So it's a relationship not from a position of weakness, not that we look up to them. It's both ways now. Whether it's space, the other day I said now we are breaking grounds in the space. So it's actually happened that way. And I feel all of us who are associated with this exercise are fortunate enough to have lived through these times, because maybe today we do not realize that this is some kind of a history making. But a few years later, this day also, the 24th of June, is going to go down in the history. And at the same time, it also proves more than one thing at the time. Of course, as was being mentioned by Dr. Pal, our journey towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now we are in a position, we had the capabilities, possibly we didn't have that kind of a milieu, or we didn't have that kind of patronage from the level of the policy makers or the kind of political leadership, which fortunately we now have in the last 9 years. The prioritization is also now different from what it was till a decade ago. And therefore it has given all the scientific fraternity enough leverage and outlet to explore their potentials to the maximum extent. And I'm sure some of the best brains sitting in this room right now would bear that out, because we sometimes felt constrained going beyond that. I was saying the other day, we had aspiration, but we felt prisoners of the aspiration. So to give outlet to the aspiration, you look for a different world. Some of us migrated out, some of us went there. But here now we have that kind of a milieu, which is actually manifesting in more ways than one, including what has happened in the area of the vaccines. The other is that this is one of the beautiful examples of public-private participation, which has been the hallmark of this government. On the one hand, you have the whole of the government approach. On the one hand, you have whole of the government approach, as Dr. Paul was mentioning. We have the BIRAC here, we have the Biotechnology here, we have Niti Aayog here. And on the other hand, public. Because by considered view, and I'm saying this with all the conviction and my confidence, that we cannot go beyond this unless we are equal partners. It has to be an extended integration, extended synergy, and an extended holistic approach. And fortunately, Prime Minister Modi is very supportive. And the best evidence of that comes when he opened up the doors of Sriharikota, which was unimaginable. And nobody had even demanded, because he had reconciled to space being an area of confidentiality, or being locked, as Dr. Sanjay Singh is saying. And he could unlock that. And today we have about 150 startups just within 3 years. So see how much of talent was waiting to happen. And energy. So I think this is signaling, this event, as I said, is symbolic of more than one thing at a time. The Atmanirbhar Bharat, the PPP model, the pioneering a leading role that India is going to play as a preventive healthcare leader, and overall, it also ensures for India a global role and a global player. The manner in which the agreements happened yesterday also related to space, related to semiconductors, and of course, so we have actually assumed that, because now we are ready to live up to global parameters, to accept global challenges and to meet them. And the trials, as Sanjay Singh was mentioning, that it will be easier to work when we have common goals, is mentioning me. But I think we would also like to have further wider integration when we do the clinical trials. And I have started that experiment to an extent that we have about 37 institutes in CSIR. Similarly, we have biotechnology. There are not many things common between what is happening in the Department of Biotechnology and happening in certain institutes of CSIR, because some of the institutes are actually dedicated to biotechnology, others to aromatic experiments, because each of the institutes has its own domain. So I think we could integrate with that. And also I had initiated an experiment at 2 of the cities where we could actually also bring on the same platform, which I refer to as extra scientific integration, extra medical integration. That's why you could also involve IITs and IIMs, because sometimes it sounds absurd, but it has a tremendous meaning. We learned in COVID, the ventilators were being developed by IIT Kanpur, and trials being done here. And sometimes the aims also being brought into the loop. And IIM, because we need to do market mapping and the market dynamics to be studied before we go in for startups and on the new projects. So I think in the years to come, times to come, we could look forward to that. Dr. Sanjay Singh was mentioning the larger pool and the vaccines, the ambitious program to develop vaccines for tuberculosis, malaria, and the other diseases. I think one advantage we have in that sense that we have a huge resource pool. Till a few years back, we used to get at AIMS Delhi interns from UK. I think that stopped a few years ago. And also because even in the pre-independence times, many of the researchers from Britain came to India to conduct their experiments and projects on tropical disease, because they didn't have much of a resource pool there. If you go to the General Hospital Madras, you'll still find a plate there, Donovan. It's written that Dr. Donovan used to sit in this lab, and then became the famous Donovan bodies. So we have that advantage. Now it's up to us how much, because this is something which others don't have. So we have a huge pool. The other day, there was a team, we were, I think, you were saying, they said, what kind of diseases do we frantic calls, even from some of my colleagues settled abroad, who always looked at all these indigenous methods with a lot of contempt, would make frantic calls to ask whether there was a booster in a homeopathy and allopathy. In spite of the fact that way back, I think one of the first studies that we did in our domain in diabetes was in 1997, Dr. B.K. Sahai from Hyderabad, who is now of course an elderly person, son is named Rakesh, where we could actually identify yogasanas like Mayurasana, Bhujangasana, Paschimottanasana, Ardha Matsyendrasana, which could reduce the insulin doses or even the oral antidiabetics, or could act as good adjuvants. But in spite of that, the world was not ready to accept. They thought we had done that simply to get the paper publishable. So I'm glad that this is also one of the good outcomes happened, and therefore, as I said, to reiterate, it's one of the best times happening for India, one of the best times happening on the Indian side of fraternity, and lucky would be those who live on to see the better times happening. Thank you.
Sir, we have a couple of them. So it is as heavy as solid our technology. Professor Arora. For your room.
Name the disease and I have one. So we are also now, after post-COVID, also very much into the communicable disease back if you had got up. And non-communicable we were already adopted. In fact, when the non-communicable disease started happening in late 80s, mid-80s, somebody had remarked that now we have entered into an era of civilization. Because these were the diseases of civilization. we were still having disease of poor hygiene. So we are now having a combination of both sides because the society has evolved as a whole. So we have that, but this could be also used as a dividend rather than a disadvantage. And lastly, I think we need to have now a good data repository. Out of this also, now this vaccine is coming to follow up also. Indian data for Indian problems and for Indian subjects. That is something, and of course we could do a larger sharing once ourselves with what is happening in your institute, what is happening in India, and we could come on later on with a common data as well. Speaking of from what Rajesh was saying of the biotech, I think this is a fact which is rather remain understated, but there's a huge value is going to be realized in 5 years from now. Biotechnology is going to be the major contributor to India's economy in the next 20-25 years. We have been talking about Amrit Kal, and it's true that we would be reaching that pedestal, but have we ever thought scientifically where would that addition come? Where would that supplementation come? Because all the other resources have been exhausted. A, and B, the biotechnology processes were not put to optimum use. So when we talk of biotechnology, it's not limited only to vaccines. Even your agriculture sector is making a huge utility of the biotechnology techniques, whether it's the fruits and the vegetables, the horticulture. You are doubling the production of the produce. You are improving the quality of produce. In the dairy sector, we have startups where you are improving the quality of milk, increasing the quantity of milk, sometimes seeking to improve the quality of the progeny. So all this is happening through bio. Unfortunately, the awareness is lacking among the stakeholders and in the society. So there, I think we need to work harder. That's why I'm glad we have media also today amongst us, because media has to also be a partner of this integrated exercise. You don't have to look at us only as reporters. You have to be looking at us as partners, because that is something which is not actually realized in those who could actually make use of it. So similarly, in the oceans. Now we have also launched deep sea mission. The Prime Minister spoke twice about it from the Independence Day, both in 2021-22. And we have the longest coast, 7,500 kilometers. And all those minerals and metals which come from below the biodiversity are going to be the domain of Dr. Rajesh Gokhale. Unfortunately, people look at him as some kind of a biologist working only in a dingy, dark room. Lab vaccine, microscope. But they don't know the domain is so big. And I think the irony is that this was an exclusive asset, always, biotechnology. We have a huge Himalayan range which others don't have. We have at least 5-6 states located in the lap of Himalayas, beginning from Himachal, Uttarakhand, Jammu Kashmir. We have about 10-12 states along the sea bank which others don't have. All this is biotechnology. And this is going to add value to the. But what is heartening now, at least for the time being, is that before 2014 we just had 50 biotech startups. Can you imagine? This sometimes laughable, it's embarrassing also to say. A country as big as India was having only 50 registered.
के सारे सब वेरिएंट्स को भी अच्छी तरीके से कवर करता है, तो ये डिजायरेबल है। और WHO की 17 मई को एक मीटिंग हुई थी, उस मीटिंग के अनुसार भी मोनोवैलेंट ओमिक्रॉन बेस्ड स्पेसिफिक वैक्सीन डिजायरेबल।
Dr. Paul, will the government also procure this vaccine? It will be available in the private sector.
वो जो था वो था उसको आप
प्राइमरी डोज के लिए
प्राइमरी डोज था, आप उसको यूज कर लेते थे। इन होप दैट विल आल्सो गिव यू प्रोटेक्शन।
Can I continue in the same way if you want? Sir, most of us got Omicron itself. So most of us were protected by the wild virus. Why do we need a Omicron based booster when you have already had? And remember Dr. Paul and Dr. Arora and Renu Swarup talking about how Omicron gave widespread immunity to the country. So why do we need an Omicron based hang on, sir, let me come. Why do we need an Omicron based booster? If you say we need it for next platforms for vaccines, that is understandable.
No, I have to explain. Please, scientifically. So, there is the humoral activity, yes, there is the herd immunity also possible that can give some protection. But if you see my presentation, I have only prioritized, as per WHO norms, the higher risk group. Higher risk group. And who are the higher risk group? People aged 60, you can see the whole WHO has put it now. The people who have comorbidity, people who are immunocompromised, either in oncology or in nephrology, or people have diabetes, people have heart problems. So these rules have been already established. And to have effective immunity against new variants, you need an updated vaccine. And this Omicron booster is an updated.
और इम्यूनिटी का क्या पता, पहले वाला को हो गई है, मुझे ना हुई हो। And I may be having all the other risk factors. So this is an interventional procedure of inducing immunity rather than getting it incidentally.
Dr. Singh.
Sir has said, can I add to that briefly? A very important point, the herd immunity, the antibodies will die out in 6 months or so, and it is all over the world, the levels will go down.
That's true, Dr. Siri. You cannot predict in case of every individual when they would die. They may not have reached that level.
Above the age of 60 and others, the antibody levels may come down as early as 90 days. So what you require is a multifaceted. This Omicron has, like Dr. NK has said, that you have 370 variants. So this is a variant, covers all the variants of Omicron, and if you take that mRNA vaccines, your antibody level, even if you have taken one, even if you were infected and you take the vaccine, your levels will stay high at least for 12 months to 18 months. And therefore, there is a relevance of booster, and especially Omicron booster, which is not available on any other platform. I'll just add to what Sir has said.
की विविधताएं हो सकती हैं, और उन सारी विविधताओं से निपटने के लिए हमारे जो वैज्ञानिक हैं जीविका से कार्य कर रहे हैं, उन सब चीज़ों को स्वीकार करते हुए आगे का जो है कि जो आपने 2299 बताया है और जिस प्रकार मोदी जी हमारे देश के स्वास्थ्य के लिए और हम सबके स्वास्थ्य के लिए कार्य कर रहे हैं, अन्य क्षेत्रों में इतना पैसा खर्च किया जा रहा है और अन्य क्षेत्रों में हम हर चीज़ के ऊपर जो है किसी प्रकार की दरों के अंदर कटौती कर रहे हैं। क्या इसके ऊपर दरों की कटौती करने की कोई योजना है?
ये डॉक्टर कॉल नोट कर रहे हैं
किस सिटीज में ये मतलब अवेलेबल हो पाएगा? Dr. Singh, will the government be procuring this vaccine? It will be only available in private channels.
As he is hinting at, that in the course of as we move on, we take the call. When Dr. Paul note कर रहे हैं जॉब कह रहे हैं.
So my question is going to be regarding the presence of the PharmaJet technology in these GEMCOVAC vaccines. So when it came to vaccines, there was a lot of turmoil amongst the audience regarding the safety and the efficacy that came to it, even during the peak of COVID times. So now with this presence of new technology in contrast to the conventional needled technology that we have in vaccines, how do you ensure that the audience is going to trust that it is going to provide better immunogenicity compared to the needled technology? So basically, how do you ensure that about the assurance of the audience and to ensure that it reaches the mass audience per se?
So, thank you. So, the science is run by common sense. Science is run something more, which is pramad of parinam. My Honorable Prime Minister knew in this term some time back. And why? We have a design clinical trial which has been reviewed by the committee that clinical trial is effective against power enough to answer the question, and the clinical trial has been conducted in 30 centers, and then the data has been collected, the data has been presented to various committee review, not only this committee but then the office of DCGI and then above that entity, and all that has happened, and based on that this has been vaccine has been approved. So it is.
I think in a second sentence, it's very kind that you received approval from the government itself is evidence enough, because they do not do it for nothing, particularly when it's a new product. They are extra cautious because they would be then receiving it. So I think we have sufficient evidence, research findings accepted as reasonably safe. And the other part of acceptability and awareness.
मोदी जी ने पहले किया था आपने आपका तो टाइम
पहला हमने और फिर हमारे चेयरमैन ने ट्रायल से पहले ट्रायल के पहले
बोलना नहीं, रेगुलेटर बंद कर दिया।
आ जाइए।
I am owner of Salmon Point. We